I'm going to be installing a Cat6 network jack in the wall, and I'm going to need to crimp on some RJ45 plugs onto cables to complete the whole setup. I'll have links in the description to all the equipment and parts that I'm using. So the way these work, when you put this inside the wall, and of course that's cut out, on the top and bottom we have these pieces that are going to rotate to a certain position as you start tightening those screws, and then it can't go any further. So as that screw is being tightened, these pieces are going to come toward the front, and eventually it's going to grab against the drywall, and that keeps it in place, top and bottom. So once this is in the wall and secured, this wall plate just slips on, and there's 2 screws for this. First I had to choose which wall to put the Ethernet jack on, and I chose an interior wall so there wouldn't be obstacles inside the drywall like insulation. I double-checked the other side of the wall in the next room to make sure there's no other receptacles or anything directly behind where I need space. Then I wanted to make sure I put the receptacle in between 2 studs. So sometimes it's easy to locate an empty void behind the wall by just tapping and listening for the most hollow section of wall, and that's most likely a very open space. Or you can use a stud finder to make sure you locate the jack far enough away to have clearance. So suppose this is the wall, this is the floor. If you've already got a receptacle of some sort nearby at a certain height, and you want this new jack to be the same height so it doesn't look weird, the way I'm going about this, you can measure up from the floor to the bottom of the existing faceplate, and then you'll know how far up you want the bottom of this one to be in order to figure out where to make the cutout for this so it all comes out at the right height. When this is all in position, right here should be the edge of the cutout for this insert. So if we measure from where the cutout here will be to where the bottom of the white faceplate is, it's about a ½ an inch. So we need to start drawing lines on the wall at this height plus ½ an inch to account for the bracket inside, or whatever the actual offset is on a different bracket. And for how to get this outline, I can arbitrarily just pick a spot where I know this now has to be the height of the other wall plate plus, in this case, ½ an inch up. I can just put a dot there and call that one of the bottom corners. And some of these brackets have a convenient hole in each corner, so you can just put a pencil in and mark those and then connect the lines once you level it. This particular one doesn't have any special thing like that. So I can just measure what the outline opening needs to be for this to go into the wall. If I made my starting corner here, and now I know I have to come over a certain distance, I can put a tentative new mark here. Then I can just take a level, line it up on the one that I know is the correct height, and then just get it level, and then draw a light line, and then wherever it actually matches this measurement in width, I can mark my true other bottom corner. So now this should be a level bottom line. Now again, from the original corner, I can make the measurement for the height of the cutout I need for this bracket. Then wherever it looks generally vertically level, at that distance I can put a tentative mark there, put the level on again, lining it up with the known good point until everything's vertically level, and then connect that up. So I've got 2 sides now, and I can do the same thing and get an entire outline that should be close to what we need. Then to start cutting it out, what I did is drill a hole in one of the corners, and then I have a drywall saw that I just use to go and cut out the rectangle. Or you could use some other tool like an oscillating tool with a blade that just can go in there and you just move it along. And to test it out when the hole is cut out, it may not fit if you cut it exactly to the measurement. so you may need to just chip away at one or two of the edges. Eventually, when you can get this inserted, you can double check if you can maneuver it to be level. And again, if needed, you could chip away at one of the edges until you can sort this out level. Then when it's ready to be installed, you can start tightening these screws. These will flip up and start going in to grab the drywall. But I didn't install this just yet. When I had the cutout in the drywall, I still wanted as much clearance as possible because now I had to drill a hole down inside the wall through the floor to run a cable to the basement ceiling. There's different types of installers drill bits. Some of them are very long and flexible. I happen to have some of these already, and I'm drilling close to the floor already, so this is more than enough for what I'm trying to do. So I'm using one drill bit as a pilot. I can just put this in and drill down through the floor, and this will poke out through the ceiling in the basement. Then I have this spade bit I can then put there where I drilled the pilot hole and make a bigger hole, and then I'm ready to run cable. This one's a 5/8 inch, which happens to be enough to fit an Ethernet cable through. Now, using this cable as a representation, I've got a long Cat6 cable, and I'm going to need to put an RJ45 connector on the far end where it plugs into a network switch, and the other end, I could use an RJ45 on this wall plate as well. This specific one I bought has a Keystone insert that actually has an RJ45 jack. So you just plug that in and that's inside the wall. But I'm not going to use that style, so I'm going to take this one out. You just push down this tab and that pulls out. I have this other punch down terminal style and it just sits there. Mainly it's because I wanted this to all be white instead of blue. So on the one end of the cable in the wall that will be attached here, I have to take the individual 8 wires inside the cable, put them here where they need to go on 8 terminals, and then use a punch down tool. When the wire is laid across, this blade just sits here and you push it down until it's in place. It may or may not make a click with this low-cost tool, but you just get a feel for it. And when I bought that punch down tool, it came with this little support, so you can lay the connector here and then bring the cable in here, put the wires where they need to go, and then it's a solid support to use the punch down tool. So first, the cable end needs to be stripped. You need to strip off this outer jacket. So with this punch down tool, it came with this stripper as well. You just insert the network cable on this largest opening, let it go. It grabs in just enough to cut the insulation. You spin it around just once. If you keep going, it might dig into the inner wires. So after just going around once, you just pull the jacket off of the insulation. Then on the inside of the cable, there's a center core that separates 4 twisted pairs of wire. So you just cut that away with cutters. And the wires have different color jackets. Some of them are solid color, and then they have a corresponding color with a white stripe. And on the jack, you can see there's 2 rows, A and B. Long story short, we're going to follow the B color code. And the idea is to keep the wires twisted together as far as possible. So I tend to try to bring each pair up to where they need to go, still being twisted all the way overhanging. And then I just try to force them open right where they need to slip into these contact points so that I can push them down and keep them in place, and they are still twisted along the way. Then, when ready, grab the punch down tool and just lock them in place. Then the other cap goes on top, and when that's all together, then that slips in place. and now it's ready to mount to the wall. So I fed the cable in the wall down through the hole in the floor, and with the Keystone jack assembled, I was ready to just attach that faceplate to the bracket in the drywall and move on to the other far end of the cable where I needed to put on a plug. And the kind of connector I'm using has pass-through holes, so those 8 wires can go all the way through to the tip, and then they just come out through those holes and keep going. And you just push the jacket in as far as it will go. A connector boot isn't necessary, but it does help prevent the retaining clip from breaking off. So if you are going to use a cable boot, you would install that on the cable before starting to strip away the jacket. The insulation stripping tool is used again to take a few inches off of the jacket, and the inner separator is cut away again. Then all the wires need to be untwisted so they can be put in a certain order. An easy way to untwist each pair is to take that insulation jacket and just put one of the 2 wires out of a pair into it and just move it along, and it helps make it a lot faster. When the wires are all separated, you can pull them to straighten them out as best as possible, and then they have to be lined up in a certain order before inserting in the RJ45 connector. In an at-home installation, most likely the wiring order is going to follow the T568B sequence. If you don't know which standard to use because you might have a cable that already has a plug on one side and you're just putting a plug on the other, you can double check by looking at the wiring color sequence. If you have the orange wires on the one side, it follows the B standard, but if you have green on the side, it follows the A standard, and the other end has brown in both cases. And when I've done all I can, the very tips now may not all be lined up straight, so maybe take a pair of wire cutters and just cut a fresh end off so that they are all aligned. And then holding them as close to the end as possible so that they don't separate, then I start inserting them into the connector, only releasing them as the cable gets inserted further and I have to give it more room. So once they start coming out the far end and you push it through as far as you can double check at the end of the connector if they all actually went in the correct order. And if so, once the cable is pushed in as far as it can go, you plug the connector into the crimping tool and squeeze the handles to do the crimp. My crimping tool is older, so it doesn't automatically cut those excess wire lengths off the end. Some tools can do it automatically, but for me, I just take wire cutters and go and manually cut the wires off of the tip, and then the connector is ready. And now to test this cable to make sure the wires are all connected and again to make sure they're in the right sequence, I'm using one of these network cable testers, and these can separate so you can put one on one end of the cable and the other one you just bring to the other location. Here's an example of how it works. You plug the cable into each half of the tester and turn it on, and it's going to go one by one through all 8 wires, and if the lights go on in the correct sequence, it means the wiring is good. If one light doesn't come on, or if the wrong light comes on, it doesn't match 1-to-1, then there's some sort of problem. To plug it into the jack in the room, I just take a patch cable so that I can plug it into the tester. Then I take the other end and I go to the basement where I just crimped on the plug it into here. Then I can look at the tester and make sure all the 8 lights are going on in the correct sequence. Once the wall jack installation was complete and the other end of that cable was running to the basement and plugging into the router, I installed Open Speed Test on a computer plugged into the new wall jack, and I accessed it from a different computer on the network, confirming I was getting gigabit upload and download speeds, which is the maximum capability of the network hardware. So the installation was successful, and now I'm not limited to just Wi-Fi in that room.